Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
So it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today, and today on A Story to Tell, we have technical manager and capable person, that's his words, not mine, by the way, Kieran Moore. He's the promoter of the local venue, The Pump in Trowbridge, and a general promoter too. Welcome, Kieran. How are you today?
Well, thank you. Hello, Richard. Thanks for having me on the session. I am very tired.
Very tired. Why are you very tired, Kieran?
Because I work too hard. Am I allowed to say that?
You're allowed to say that. You can say anything you like. We don't mind at all. We're going to talk about your background very quickly, actually, because we are on Zoom today, and you have the most interesting background in the world. Tell me about it.
So my background, crikey.
Well, tell me about the background that I'm looking at.
Oh, the actual.
Yeah, the actual background.
So this is a piece of actual artwork by Trowbridge-based artist called Samuel Lindup. And this is a really, really heavy, giant piece of hardwood. And when Trowbridge Town Hall was getting all of its gear out, ready for their refurbishment, this was lingering. And I said to Sam, "Hi, Sam, is it still for sale? Can I buy it?" And he said, "Make me an offer." So I did, and he accepted it. And I stole it from the town hall and brought it home. So absolute bargain. And it's an amazing piece of art. So
it is. I'm going to try and describe it. It's multicolored. It looks like lots of eyes and feathers, and it's like a peacock, isn't it?
It very much so. It's funny you should say that, because I think I can see faces in it, but it's actually completely nonsense. It's just loads of wonderful lines, which is very typical of Sam's artwork. So there's not meant to be anything specific, but you can see lots in it. So I think that's a hedgehog. That looks like a hedgehog.
Okay, I can see that, but it definitely reminds me of peacocks and all sorts of
peacock. Absolutely. Yeah, feathers. Yeah, absolutely get that. Totally get that.
Now, obviously, we can see that on radio, can't see quite so much. I'll try and do a little picture and put it on the social media so we can see a picture of it for everybody that's there. So I first came across you when you were at the Neild Hall, but kind of tell us how you got to where you are today, just regarding what work stuff.
Oh, crikey. So my wife and I, we were very young. We were 18 when we had our first child. And we had finished college, done college, done music at college, had a baby, had a 3-year gap. I was a mortgage advisor and I absolutely hated it. And one day I walked into the post office in Devizes and said, "Can I have a job?" And they said, "Can you start Saturday?" And literally within 4 months, I met a guy who said, "Have you ever thought about doing a gig, Kieran?" And I was like, "Nah, don't be ridiculous, mate." And we did our first gig and it was a massive success. More on that later. I was there for the post office for 11 years. That enabled me to do gigs and have a job. I progressed I met some people through the post office who then gave me a job at they are now based in Corsham, but at the time they were based in Devizes, called Discovery Records. They moved to Corsham. I moved to Corsham with them. I then left there, joined the Neild in Chippenham. I was there for 4 years. And that was my first tech manager job. I then left the Neild in Chippenham to come to Trowbridge because there was this massive, big project happening. I joined that project. I was there a year and then got made redundant. And then I left there and came to the Comedia in Bath. And every step of the way has been a story of growth, bigger jobs, more importance, more responsibility. And now I'm working ridiculously hard running an incredible venue that has like 3 or 4 events a day. It's madness.
Yeah, the Comedia. I actually looked at the Comedia as a dance venue at one point to see if I could be there.
To be honest, it does a bit of everything. Its original erection when it was built was for a cinema. And then after that, I want to say jack of all trades, but that makes it sound like it's not very good at anything. It's an exceptional space. I mean, it's beautiful to start with. It's just amazing. But like, there's so much we do there: film, dance, music, comedy, speeches, talks, presentations, all sorts. Nothing's off limits. Fitness. We did a fitness thing on Saturday. We had lots of women in Lycra. It was literally like an 80s montage. Absolutely. And they were giving it it was brilliant, like Jamie Lee Curtis style. It was amazing.
I have to say, I've never seen somebody quite so excited in my entire life. But as soon as you thought about women in Lycra, you were...
I'm very far away. I can't actually see anything.
So you're up in the control booth, where you're trying to work it all out. Fair enough. So how was the Neild Hall to work at then? Because that's a council-run place in Chippenham. That went through some transformation a few years ago as well.
He did. So I joined the Neils. I was the first technical manager they ever employed, and they needed to employ someone because they had a pool of techs. And I think the council decided that it wasn't cost efficient to have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different techs coming in randomly for different shows. One person wouldn't leave it set up for the next. They wouldn't know if something got lost or broken, blah, blah, blah. They said, look, we're going to employ someone. And that lucky person was me. I got the job. And I was there for 4 years, and I saw them right the way from sort of 2 years prior to COVID and lockdown, or 3 years prior to COVID. I then did a whole year of COVID, and then just as it was reopening, I decided to leave. And there was lots of reasons for that. You feel like you've done your time somewhere. The organisation didn't quite match my ambitions, and that's not a negative thing at all. It's acknowledging the limitations of a council-run venue. And this new opportunity existed in Trowbridge. So I left the Neils in Chippenham. I absolutely loved it there. Honestly, I think the staff there have been my favourite ever working team in my professional life. They're just wonderful.
Now we're going to talk very briefly about one of the members of the team who you will know. And I saw him, and I saw, you will know who I'm talking about. And I saw him for the first time last Wednesday when we were there for our dancing. And he hasn't been very well lately, but he was back, and that's Roger.
I knew you were going to say Roger.
About, didn't you?
I love Roger. He's what an amazing guy. Yeah. In fact, actually, I think it sounds really weird. I'm going to show you my buckle. Did he tell you about his buckle?
No, he hasn't told me about his buckle. That just sounds slightly wrong. But let's move on.
Yeah, well, his name is Roger Buckle. That's his surname. Is Buckle.
I didn't know that.
And when I joined Neil, I used to wear belts, big chunky belts with big American style buckles. I had one like of a moose. It was very cool. Anyway, after working there, when I left, he gave me his prized buckle, and I wear it every day.
Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm
wearing it now, completely unplanned.
So for the benefit of the tape, it's a buckle with an electric acoustic guitar on it that's gold.
Correct. It's like a big Les Paul gold, silvery gold, sparkly. But I wear it every single day. This is like a prized heirloom of mine now. But that came from Roger. Just a wonderful human being.
Yeah, so for those that don't know Roger, which let's face it, will be 99%.
Most people.
So he's one of the. I don't know what you actually call them. The people that are on the doors.
We call them just simply Hall's team.
He's a mature chap, shall we say? I think he's 80 or so now.
He's way past retirement, but he's still knocking it out the park.
Yeah, and he's still there, and he's still smiling every time. And he's an amazing character. So yeah, and I may see him. I may see him in the next day or two. So
well, obviously, always send him my love.
I will do. But the Neils are fantastic hall. It really is. It's quite limited. The structure they've got there with the seats. There's only so much capacity you can have, and that restricts all the actual performances you can get. Trowbridge Town Hall slightly different though. That's again a massive, kind of a very different environment. So what was it like being there?
So the town hall was amazing. So the town hall was, you remove all the council thing, and you have a team of people that basically say yes to everything. And then after they've said yes to it, they go, oh God, how are we going to do this? And a case in point would be National Theatre. We got National Theatre into the town hall, which anybody listening will understand that National Theatre is like a huge organisation that has an awful lot of significance attached to it, and a lot of weight behind it. And so we said yes, or the director had said yes to this thing, and we had to sort of make this happen. But that's what was brilliant about working at the town hall. The variety was just huge. It went from like literally one-on-one sort of counselling sessions, which we would facilitate and sort of sort their needs out, right the way through to National Theatre with like 100 people. So we did everything in between. Again, music, comedy, dance, theatre, kids workshops, just anything you could possibly think of. And that really
this isn't the Civic Centre, is it?
No, this is not the Civic. So not to be confused with the Civic. The Civic is like a big version of the Neeld.
Yeah,
doesn't have the tiered seating, which is probably it's for a loss. If it had tiered seating, it'd be amazing, but slightly bigger. But I also work there as a freelance on occasion. But they kind of do basically bigger stuff. They're more on a par with what we do at the Comedia. So, but no, the town hall. Whilst I was there doing all these amazing things, they applied for a grant called the Future High Street Fund, or the local council did. They were given lots and lots and lots of money. And I don't know if anybody's listening who knows the town hall in Trowbridge. Without over-egging it, it's falling apart. It's way past its best. It needs an awful lot of work done to it, namely the removal of the asbestos. Lots of asbestos riddled with it.
That's not ideal. And it's right on the high street, isn't it? It's a beautiful building.
It's an amazing building. And when this work is done, which will be 2025, when this work is done, it's going to be such an incredible space, a real selling point for Trowbridge, and a real jewel in Wiltshire. You know, there's no denying it. It's going to be. There's lots of amazing venues we have in this area, like the Pound in Corsham, etc. This is going to be one of scale. This is going to be a beautiful building that's large, has a capacity to rival, you know, the Cheese and Grain in Frome, but has the beauty to go with it, and a massive free multi-story out the back.
So I've been into Trowbridge Town Hall, and I can't imagine the rooms being that big, because again, I looked at it as a dancing venue.
Yes,
I was like, it's too small.
Well, when it gets done, you can go back in and you can absolutely use it for dancing. So most of the money is being spent on the reinstatement of the grand ballroom. Okay. So if you ever went in and went upstairs, it was been segmented into lots of little rooms. All of that's going. All of those prefab walls are going. If you ever looked up, you would see that the footprint of the roof is giant. But obviously the roof of the ceilings were quite low. So they're like 2 meters or 2.5 meters. But anything above that was all open space.
Okay.
So that's going to be reopened. Massive hall, 500 capacity. Going to be amazing.
I will investigate. I'll speak to you offline about who to speak to.
Yes, sure.
Because I'm booking my 20.
It's a year away yet. It's a year and a half away yet. So
my 2024 is already booked. So I'm booking great. 2025 already. So
amazing.
Because I mean, I love the Civic Centre. It's a little bit soulless for me. It's a lovely new venue, but whenever I've been there, I just felt like it didn't have much soul to it. I don't know if that's
No, it is a fair comment. I mean, they did do the whole jack of all trades. They want to be a blank canvas for anything. There's a company in Trowbridge called Appetito, and they do their Christmas party there every year. Everyone knows Appetito.
My wife works for Appetito, so.
Oh, does she? Oh, there you go. Well, you'll know now. Their Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Like what they do is just, but that basically that's the level of sort of detail you need to put into that place to make it feel utterly incredible. And that's just not your average show. So you're right.
But the town hall, that sounds much more interesting to me. So we do a few events. So we hire. So for instance, we've got coming up at the Neilwood Hall, we've got an all-day event, which is quite nice. We also hire the Guildhall in Bath once a year, which is
nice.
An enormous venue. We hire the whole venue out, and so we do some special events. So
don't you do St Margaret's in Bradford and Avon as well?
Yeah, every Monday night. So we're there as well.
So my friend Meg, who works at the Pump, she also works at the Bradford and Avon Council, and she does those events, and she keeps it's funny, she goes, Kieran, I've got to do this thing called Sir Rock, and I got Sir Rock, like Sir Rock, no, Sir Rock. It's like one word, not two.
That's it. Yes, no, Meg has now taken over our night, so she is the one that's helping to run the venue, which is all good. And Comedia, so you're now at Comedia. How's that on a day-to-day basis then?
Oh, crikey. So Comedia on average, I would say on average, does 2 events a day. That's usually 3 events a day, but not every day of the week. So it's quite common for a Saturday, for example. You get in at 9 o'clock, you do a early or sort of lunchtime session right the way up to 4 o'clock. Then you set up for Crater, which is our sort of flagship comedy event. That runs until 10 o'clock. And then you have a club night that runs until 3 a.m. So literally the venue is in operation almost 24/7. We'll come again Sunday morning. We'll have a Sunday session again at sort of, 10 o'clock get in, go over lunchtime, followed by an evening show. Sometimes when it's club season, and we are in club season right now because the freshers are all back, all the new uni students are back, we'll often have a club night on a Sunday too, and on a Monday. So I'm doing admin, I'm advancing all the shows, I'm making sure we've got everything we possibly need for these events. And then because there's so many, I don't execute them all. I have a pool of techs. I then get people in to run events sort of for me. But it is non-stop. I've never worked so hard in my life. I've never worked in such a continuous onslaught of information. It is. I've got bags under my eyes. A year ago, I didn't have this.
My bags are just there constantly now. I've given up.
Yeah.
But no, you're all looking good. I mean, Comedia is a fantastic venue again. So I've been there many times for for comedy nights, the burlesque nights, that type of thing as well. It always seems incredibly well run, actually.
Glad you think so.
Yeah.
Every show that we do, there's a show report, and in that show report, everybody gets to sort of cover their area. And there's often a lot of feedback on that. It might well be, for example, this transition between Crater and Club wasn't very smooth. We need to look at that, and there might be some feedback on that, and why something was arduous. How do we rectify that? It's always an ongoing conversation. Everything is always addressed all the time. No stone gets left unturned, which is really, really positive. But again, it's a lot of work. So just when you think.
That's really good, because you kind of created that environment where you're having constant feedback and not afraid of it. And it's not
absolutely
not a critique of you. It's just how can we make it better for the next event?
Absolutely correct. And if you do anything veer from the path of normal, they'll question why, but it's not in a negative way, or it's not like you say, criticism. So I do have these conversations with my employers and my boss and my line manager all the time. So, and it's never negative. So yeah. It's great.
Well, your name comes up quite a lot on Radio Bath, Kieran. Very quickly. So you're known as Kieran J Moore. We have to ask, what does the J stand for, if you can tell us?
Yeah, I can tell you. So my middle name is James, but when I was named, it was 1983, and Back to the Future was very popular with Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
And my parents had a bit of a thing for Michael J. Fox, so I become Kieran J Moore. That's the reason. So it's James. I don't know what the J in Michael J Fox is for. Probably James. Let's hope so. But yeah, that's why I'm called Kieran J Moore.
Well, we're going to have a break for music, and I'll talk after the break about why your name comes up so much. So back with Kieran after this.
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
So it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today, and on today's A Story to Tell, I've got Kieran J Moore. Now, before the break, we were talking about what the J stands for, which is James, I believe, and why you were called Kieran J Moore. Okay, so
I was named after. I was born in 1983, which is around about the time that the Back to the Future films were very famous and popular. And my parents had a thing for Michael J. Fox, so the name had to be Kieran J. Moore. So they picked James, but we have just Googled it.
We have.
And Michael J. Fox, his name is actually Michael Andrew Fox, is named after an American actor called Michael J. Pollard, and the J stands for John. So. There you go.
There you go. You're going to have this chat with your parents.
I'm going to have this chat with my parents. Wikipedia didn't exist back in those days, so I'll let them off.
That is true. Right. We're going to talk about the pump. Now, I mentioned earlier that your name comes up quite a lot when I do live lounges. So I do about one live lounge a month. So I have a band come in. They either play live or they record it prior, because sometimes I get a bit nervous and stuff. And quite often they say, "Oh, this bloke called Kieran." I'm like, "I know Kieran.
You do know me."
And they're like, "He's at the pump." I'm like, "The pump in Trowbridge? What's the pump in Trowbridge?" And I was like, "I don't really know much about it." So tell us about the pump in Trowbridge, Kieran.
So a lot of listeners will know the pump in Trowbridge, because the pump in Trowbridge has been there as a live music venue since November 1970. So it's been there a very long time. And it traditionally was an old traditional folk venue. So trad folk, twiddly diddly, knit your own breakfast type folk. During the folk revival of the 60s, sort of at the end of that, they started out. And that venue has been in constant use. And the people that started it, when they started it, were sort of in their 20s and 30s. Those people now they're very old. Some of them, the person that gave the venue to me 3 years ago is a guy called Pete McGregor, and he was 80 when he gave it to me. He's 83 now. And I think it's fair to say they just can't run a live music venue day to day. And the venue itself had, in 2000, it got given some lottery funding, and they sort of renovated the building, put in a new PA, put in new electrics, that kind of thing. And so it got modernized. I took it over in 2020, literally April 2020 or March 2020. Absolutely bang on lockdown. It's like, here's the keys to the venue, and shut down. So, it's like, God. That, though, actually gave us an opportunity to get into the space, there was quite a lot in it that obviously we're young, we're new, we're dynamic, we've got a vision, we've got ideas, and we were able to change the venue and make it what we want. We cleaned the venue, we redecorate it. We got a charity called the Prince's Trust. They had some students, some kids. They're the sorts of people that fall through the cracks of society and need help getting back up onto their feet. We got these kids in and we said, look, guys, here's some paint, here's some brushes, sort the venue out. And these 8 kids, absolutely amazing. They deep cleaned the venue. They deep painted the venue. They deep restored the venue. All the broken things were fixed. And we reopened in October 2022.
Okay.
No, I don't know. We reopened when we could reopen, basically. And we've been doing gigs ever since. So the pump itself is 100 capacity. So it's quite a small space. It's got some tiered seating on a mezz over the stage. Those tiered seatings are like cinema seats, and they were taken from Froome Cinema sort of around 2000 time. And then downstairs, it's like fundamentally all standing area. So you've got a mixed sort of seated standing area. It's quite low, it's quite dark, it's quite small. It's immediately vibey and entertaining and interesting. You walk in and you go, wow, you know, no one has failed the wow test yet. Everybody walks in and goes, this is amazing. Because on the outside, it just looks like an old stone building.
So from the outside, now, first of all, we need to explain where the pump is in Trowbridge, because many people that travel through Trowbridge will have driven past it thousands of times and not even known it's there.
Correct. So the Lamb in Trowbridge, which is a pub, is on a roundabout, which is the big roundabout by Tesco's.
Known as the Tesco roundabout in Vegas.
Massive Tesco's, massive roundabout, pub called the Lamb. Now, when you drive around that roundabout, you will see a stone building on your left, and that is the pump. And it's probably the footprint of just a standard horse barn, the footprint of a horse barn. It's about 12 meters long and about 6 meters wide. And it's got a mezzanine halfway across the building. And that's pretty. It's got 2 windows and that's about it. It's very dark, but the inside is just incredible.
How do you get into it then? Do you have to go via the Lamb, or is it a separate entrance?
No, we go via the Lamb. So we have a lease with Wadworths, and that lease is on a 1-year rolling lease, and it enables us to be in the building, and we completely financially responsible for that building. So if the roof caved in, we'd have to repair it. But with that, you have to use the pub's facilities. So we don't have a toilet and we don't have a bar. So all alcohol and food has to be bought via the pub. And if you need a wee, in the pub. But that aside, the rest of the time...
Ideally in the toilets in the pub. Can we go
Ideally in the toilets.
Yes.
But the rest of the time we have access to it. So we have rehearsals in there during the day. So we have a couple of bands and organisations that use it during the day. Monday or Sunday to Thursday, we have organisations that use it of an evening. And then Friday, Saturday is gig night. And we do gigs twice a week, 52 weeks of the year, literally all year round.
Absolutely amazing. So as I said, your name comes up a lot, and quite often I have bands come in and they say, I'd love to perform at the pump. So I was like, well, I'll put a word in with Kieran, shall I? I haven't mentioned any bands just yet. I'd like to point that out. But how would somebody get to perform at the pump then?
I mean, it's a good question. We first and foremost, we only do original music. It has to be originals, and there's a reason for that, and that's because any cover band that play, they're usually playing the Greyhounds, Stallards, wherever else, but that's usually for free. And because we don't have a mechanism of making money, we can't pay anyone. So the only way we can pay someone is by charging a ticket price. And that tends to be for your original acts. It's very unlikely someone's going to pay to watch a covers band when they're also playing elsewhere in Trowbridge for free. So you have to be original. That's the sort of the reasoning behind it. That aside, original music, basically nothing is off bounds except for sort of drum and bass. We're not doing any club nights, drum and bass club nights. We're not doing any heavy thrash metal. Lots of reasons, normally to do with noise, but also to do with the amount of equipment required, and the space we've got is quite small. So if you're like a 7-piece band, the chances are you can't play. You just can't fit on our stage. Our fire exit is directly next door to our stage. If you've got like this drum kit and all these guitar amps and that, you're going to block the fire escape. It's about being, we what we pride ourselves on is being good at what we do. There's no point trying to shoehorn in something that won't work and then doing it averagely, when you can put something on that does work and do it brilliantly. So be realistic about what your expectations are. If you're, like I say, if you're a 5-piece, even a thrash metal band, it's just not going to fit. It's not going to sound right. You're going to have a rubbish experience. Your audience will have a rubbish experience. We'll all go home, no better from when we started. So, but if you're sort of a 3-piece acoustic folk band and you turn up and all of a sudden the sound is immaculate, the stage is spacious, the experience is fantastic, then you start achieving things. That's not to say we don't just do folk. We did a rap show recently with guys from Bristol called Word Life. Had 100 people come, wall to wall, all night, rappers, absolutely amazing. I don't listen to rap. I don't particularly enjoy rap, but the show itself was exceptional. And that's kind of brings us to my next point, in the sense that we will do anything. I will do anything as long as we think it works. And I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not going to say, I don't like that, therefore it's not happening. I say it's always down to people. So the people that came from Word Life, one of them is Trowbridge based. He came to a show and he said, I'd love to perform here. I had a conversation with him and it happened. And that's truly beautiful. The interactions you have with people is absolutely incredible. And that's sort of the underlying message behind the venue. We've got a few people that work in our venue. Meg, who we spoke about earlier, she has anxiety. We've got another woman who works for us called Emily. She's got autism. There's lots of people that have additional needs potentially from their day-to-day working lives, and they found that the pump can be a mechanism to support them with those needs, and they are actually happier, more fulfilled as a result. They're able to able to do other tasks or other aspects of their life now with a lot more confidence as a direct result of being involved at the pump. And I cannot tell you how gratifying that is to be told that by them. That wasn't necessarily that I didn't set out to do that, but to have these experiences and have these people is just so rewarding. It's unreal.
That sounds absolutely incredible, in that you're having such an impact on a few people, but that then has an impact on many other people as well. It's interesting to say about being the gatekeeper, because obviously to get in at the pump, I'm assuming they have to kind of go through you.
Yeah, they have to go through me. So when I say gatekeeper, I mean is I'm not going to say no to someone because of my own opinions and tastes.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I don't like rap, but I'll put on a rap show.
I often say this regarding being, I've DJ'd for 35 years.
Sure.
And I was chatting to somebody the other day, and they were, again, at a dancing event, and they were saying, my DJ doesn't like playing this type of music, and therefore they don't. I'm like, what's your DJ got to do with it? It's not
right.
to do with them. As a DJ, your opinion and your taste are absolutely irrelevant. It's all about what the public wants. That's what you're doing.
You're bang on right there, because we have DJs that run Big Disco, which is our Saturday night at the Comedia, and we've got a pool of 5 or 6 DJs, and they come on rotation, and they are employed to play the music that suits Big Disco.
Yeah.
So they could be a drum and bass DJ, but they come and play popular stuff that works, and they are exceptional DJs. So you're absolutely on the money there.
Yeah, no, it's I've always been confused by this DJ has this particular style because that's what they like.
Yeah.
It's just not the point. Now this is a really geeky question, okay? But you're a technical person. What are the acoustics like at the pump?
The acoustics, so they chose the building originally because it suited unplugged, unamplified music. You can sort of sing your song and project, and everyone can hear it. So in that respect, the acoustics are pretty good. It's small enough to be enclosed to sort of hit walls and be heard, but it's not so big that it's like a cathedral or a church where it gets sort of reverb forever.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. However, the modern style music and show that we have does lend itself or need to be amplified. Audience is louder. The expectation is much higher. Also, it's not just people with guitars these days. They have stomp boxes, they have keyboards, they have synthesizers. And so a lot of that needs amplifying anyway. So everything's amplified now. We don't have a non-amplified show. But the acoustics are good for that. Well, the way that we've got our speaker system laid out is so that there's pretty even coverage across the whole venue. And so I would say, I mean, I'm very happy with the sound. We've over-spec'd it, so the PA that's in there is significantly more powerful than it needs to be.
Yep.
Obviously, we only tickle it. We only use it like half rate, so we've got lots of headroom. Not that we ever need it. So, but it does it. I'm very happy with the sound. We've got sub in there, so we get the low end, and so we've got stomp boxes on like the low end guitar. Really comes across, which you wouldn't normally get either. So when the audience sits and watches a show, they go, wow, it's a second wow. They get the wow of the venue, they get the wow of the sound. So
no, I mean, we've just taken over a venue in the Deanery in Swindon on a Tuesday night. So it's a school, but we're actually in their theatre. And the very first time we held a freestyle in there, we just have, it's a big venue. It takes probably realistically dancing wise 150 people. So it's quite a large venue. We just have 2 speakers. And because of the sounds, it's a brand new building, and whatever they've done acoustic wise, wherever you are in the venue, it sounds exactly the same.
Oh, very impressive.
And it's the only venue I've ever come across like that. And when you teach there, just everything is so clean. It's incredible.
Have you ever been to the Wiltshire Music Centre in Bradford-on-Avon?
Yeah.
That was designed for that, again, for orchestral music, but designed in the exact same way that you've just described.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it is for amplified music, but certainly for acoustic orchestral music, exactly the same.
Yeah. And there's very few venues like that. It's
very few.
A lot of them are very echoey, and there was a venue we used to have in Bath actually that I had to rip everything out of the whole sound system, because if you turned anything up in the wrong way, it just bounced everywhere, and it was all fun. Anyway, this is going very geeky. So the Pump has come kind of full circle in regards. It's very folky now, doing lots of stuff, very busy. What's kind of the hope for the future for the Pump?
So that's a really good question. So we are trying to get a lease that allows us, it's like a 5-year lease rather than a rolling 1-year lease, to enable us to sort of have confidence to make some changes to the venue to sort of continue to develop it. Right now, we are booking for 2024. So we have some shows lined up. We've got Semantics coming back. We've got Jazz DeLorean. We've got Scott Dunican. We've got The Lost Trades. So they're all sort of shows that we know usually sell very well. They would probably sell out in some cases. Again, so that's definitely happening. But in terms of its future use, we're associated with the Trowbridge Festival. So the festival grew from our venue. It used to be called the Village Pump Festival. It's now called the Trowbridge Festival, but it had a Village Pump stage. So we're looking to support that. We'll be doing that next year. There's a few changes within the pub on the horizon. So all of these things are going to affect our ongoing sort of status and how we work. So there's lots to do in the next few months, but it's an exciting period in our time.
No, it sounds exciting. I must get along there at some point. I live in Trowbridge, or as the yokels call it, Trowvegas.
Trowvegas, yes.
Trowvegas. And I've never been. I'll have to come along at some point.
I will stick you on a door. I know you're doing an all day on Saturday. I know you're a very busy man, much like I am. But we do occasionally Thursdays and occasionally Sundays, which may make it a little bit easier for you to come to. So just hit me up.
Now, we talk about being busy. Last question on this then. And that is that you're at the Pump. We're going to talk about your gigs section shortly. You're at Comedia all day, every day, it seems. And you have a family. So the question that everybody will be thinking is, how do you do it?
It's a really good question. I didn't arrive at this point in time, without getting there via other steps. So the reason the Pump is so busy at the moment, every weekend, 2 shows a week, is because we have a big team of people. So there's quite a few of us. We've touched on that earlier, sort of Megan, Emily, but we've also got other people like Nick and Ellen and a few others that help run the doors. So they'll run a door, they'll print the ticket list, they'll give people wristbands, they'll sign them in, they'll sell tickets on the door. We've got Megan who'll be doing the sound. We've got a guy called Ben Bryant. He'll do the sound. So I am now, it's grown beyond me. It's not about me. It's not about Kieran. It's about the Pump. It's about Trowbridge. It's about Sheer. It's about the community. And I've got a massive group of people that now make these shows work in my absence. It's quite common that I'll be working at Comedia. I get like the 11:22 train home. I'll get into Trowbridge at 1:45. I'll cycle down to the venue and I'll see the guys just as they're locking up. We'll have a beer, we'll catch up, we'll talk about the show, and then we'll all go home. So that's quite common.
And it sounds like a nice life in lots of ways.
It's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life, full of wonderful people.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have another little break for music. When we come back, you mentioned sheer a minute ago. We're going to talk about sheer music. So be right back after this.
Radio made in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
So it's Richard Beauvoisin here, back with Kieran J Moore. Kieran James Moore, from Comedia, The Pump, and also Sheer Music. So Kieran, tell us about Sheer Music then.
So Sheer Music is my self-employed name as a live music promoter or event promoter. And it started in 2004. We did a gig at Beauvoisin Football Club and 300 kids came, and it was brilliant. It was awful. It was amazing. It was terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. We had a great lineup of bands, but they really didn't work. We had like an indie band with a thrash metal band with another thrash metal band. There was no lights. The PA was basic as hell, but we had 300 kids came, all paid £3 to be there. And I walked away with 900 quid and I thought, wow, this is my calling in life. So that's how we started. And it's just grown and grown and grown from there. I don't know, I've never actually worked the numbers out, but I did like 400 gigs in devices. And then eventually I progressed to promoting in Swindon at a venue called the Victoria with a guy that was my mentor, a chap called David Young, he's since died of cancer, very sadly, but he was an absolute mentor and a hero of mine. I then progressed to promoting at Moles in Bath. I then sort of just become a promoter and doing events all over the place, bespoke events. You know, I did occasional one at the Nield, occasionally at the Pump prior to taking it over. I just did them everywhere. Just anywhere I thought a show would work, I did shows. I did the chap from Haircut 100 at Salisbury Cathedral. You know, Nick Hayward at Salisbury Cathedral.
Nick Hayward, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, so we've done some just wild things over the last 20, it'll be 20 years next year. So we are trying to plan some really special shows for next year, 20 years next year. So I just promote it. I just kind of fell into it accidentally. It wasn't, I didn't plan for it. At the time I was a mortgage advisor, became a postie, started doing gigs, and over that 20 years, I sort of progressed into becoming what I am now as a full-time technician employed at a venue that also promotes shows.
So have you thought about doing shows at Comedia? Is that kind of branched in that way?
I've done a couple there. I did a couple there prior to working there. So when the job was available and I applied for it, they already knew who I was. My son, who was when I was 18, is now 18 himself. He got a job there. And then he left after COVID. And so when I applied for the job and got the job, I was already very well known to the venue. They'd already previously employed my son, and I'd already hired it as a promoter. I did an American band called Andrew Nurse by the Trail of Dead there. And then we also did an independent venue week show there with a band from Bristol called Sewer. So we have done lots of shows there previously. And we did a couple of front bar shows. We had the guy from Running Punks, his band come and played. So yeah, we've done quite a lot of gigs prior to working there. So yes, that is very much on the cards for 2024. 20th year. We'll hopefully have a really cool big show to have at the Comedia, but more on that later.
And I'm guessing that you have the obvious link of Sheer Music and the Pump now. And
yes,
they must work hand in hand, I'm guessing.
They do, actually, probably two hand in hand. I think one of them is going to have to give up the ghost. I think what will probably happen is that the Pump will take over as the organisation, as the main promoter, and Sheer will just go down to me being self-employed again, so just doing tech, and all the gigs will run through the Pump, because it's very difficult to have two parallel organisations. There may well be a conflict of interest, and so I can't be seen to be doing anything untoward. So that's probably what will happen. It was the Pump will become the live music promoter, even if they're doing stuff at the Comedia, and Sheer will just become me self-employed, and that'll be it.
That's fair enough. Now, as a promoter, it's kind of like, again, we're talking about the gatekeeper moment. So yeah. I know a number of the bands that have come in so far. I think I've had about 5 or 6 bands come in, and they all want a spot at the Pump or wherever it may be. That, you know, they do loads of open mics, and the clubs and bars circuit is quite a standard thing to do. Kind of, do you get like demo tapes? Do people send in stuff and go, "Hey, this is us. Can you do us?" Yeah.
So in 2004, when I first kicked off, we all had CD burners in our computers, which don't exist anymore. CD drives don't exist in computers anymore. But people used to make their own demos at home. They record them, they burn them, they give them to me. I still have every single demo tape I was ever given. They're in my loft. They're all still there. And there's some amazing people in there, which we'll come back to in a minute. But so yeah, I used to collect them all. These days, people, the quality of recordings, the access people have to equipment is vastly improved. And you don't get ropey demos anymore. Doesn't exist.
No.
Bands only put out something that is exceptional because the internet is a space where everything's forever. So if you put something out really terrible, that will exist forever. So people don't do that. What you get now is almost the finished article. And there's part of me that's quite sad about that, because you don't quite see the journey anymore, which is where the live side comes in, which is so much important. You can see someone's journey now, but you have to go watch them live. So if you go watch, say, for example, the Lost Trays, the first gig they did, they were already a very well-established set of individuals, but their first gig, what it was then and what it is now, where they've become comfortable with each other, they've become comfortable with their instrumentation and their stylization. Now they're just like the Beautiful South, and they're just incredible multi-instrumentalists. But I've seen that journey, and that is the power of live music. But yes, I get loads of demos. I get them. It's all Bandcamps and SoundClouds. People send me through their demos. Email, Facebook, social media. Can I check us out? Instagram, check us out.
And be honest,
I get that daily.
How much do you actually listen to, or do you get a chance to?
Yeah, no, I listen to every single one. If you send me like, here's my album and here's 10 or 12 tracks, I'm not going to listen to 12 tracks. I'm going to listen to 2 and gauge whether your sound works. So a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people just want to come play. So they're not necessarily looking for headline slots. And that's usually easier for me because a lot of the time we're dealing with national or international touring acts. There are headliners. And then I need local acts to sort of fill in those support slots. That's really good because it means that a local act can now play over bands that they might see at a festival. I saw this band, for example, we're about to announce a show for a band called Really Big, Really Clever. They've been touring the UK. They've played all the major festivals. They're a really cool, exciting, young sort of indie rock band. And they're about to be announced at the Pump. And I now need 2 bands to support them. That's where the local acts come in because it's a double-edged sword. A lot of the time, the local acts, in theory, can fill a venue with their mates, but that doesn't always. It's not always the case, and so there's no point checking them on as a headliner, and if no one's going to come watch them. But if you put on a really cool, vibey band that people have seen, like in Kerrang or on the radio, then they'll come and watch it, even if they don't know them. And then you put on the local bands, and hopefully, the whole thing marries together, and it's just brilliant.
Well, I mean, again, it's that. What I've really loved doing the live lounges is how many local bands get to play on the radio. And
yes,
it doesn't happen. Where else would you get that? And here at Radio Bath, we're giving people that chance, which I'm loving.
It is so important from as a promoter's point of view to know that people are engaged in that way too. So it's really helpful if they've been on the radio because you know that there's people hearing them, hearing about the shows, hearing about their music and their songs. So what you do is great. You and I are sharing different parts of a larger community, and if we're all connected and working together, we are more than the sum of our parts. It's very important.
No, I think it's great, and we'll have a chat offline about some potential bands maybe that
come
in. Either way, because I've had some great bands. Everybody that's performed so far has been great. But yeah, if you've got any other bands that you may think might want to appear on the radio, that would be great to have them in.
Loads.
And it's really nice doing the live lounges because again, what's often happened is that like only 2 of the band members come in out of the 4 or 5. And they play an acoustic set, which they're not used to doing.
Yes,
and it's a whole different experience for them.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really important because that really helps them build up their experience and their understanding of who they are and what they are and how they're doing it. So all of that is really important. I did have
the very first live lounge that I did on Radio Bath was quite unusual in regards that I actually performed along with her. So I was hosting the show. I'd play guitar and stuff.
Nice.
And she was quite nervous. So
who was that?
A lady called Sorrel Pitts.
Okay.
She's a local singer-songwriter. She's really lovely. Really nice songs actually as well. Very folky. Might suit the class, you never know. So yeah, Sorrel, Sorrel Pitts. There we go, Sorrel.
Sorrel Pitts, as in the plant, the herb.
I don't know. Sorrel, and then Pitts as in Brad Pitts. So
anyway.
Yeah, she's released a number of songs. Sorrel Pitts. And she was absolutely lovely. And it was quite strange because I was like, and here on Radio Bath is Sorrel Pitts. And then I'd pick up my guitar and then play along with her. Put the guitar down. Well done, Sorrel. And it was it was very bizarre, but it was lovely. And I've just every time I've done a live lounge, I've often said this, and you must find this yourself. it's like I'm getting my own private concert. No, because the ability of radio is just two people having a chat as we are now, just happens that other people are listening. So I'm getting that with when people are doing live lounges. I'm getting my own private concert, which is
very cool.
It really is lovely. So sheer music then, you must have had some success stories over the years. Tell me about
Yes, successes. So we've had some incredible successes. We put on people like the Vaccines prior to them being called the Vaccines. We gave Foles a very early gig. They were Foles at the time. We gave Frank Turner lots and lots of gigs before he went on to be massively famous. And then we've had lots of sort of soloists that have ended up being in other bands. There's a couple of lads from Devizes, where we were originally based. One chap called Jed Elliott. He is now in an international band that are British, but are absolutely huge in America, called The Struts. They're playing main stages at UK festivals like Reading and Isle of Wight, but he tours the world. He was dating a member of Little Mix for a while. So he brought her for a curry in Devizes once, and we all went out and had a drink with them. It's that kind of thing. We've been so lucky. And I say luck, you create your own luck, but like we were always picking music that we thought was interesting and fun. And then, you know, whether they were famous or not was really irrespective. There's been plenty of bands that I've put on that I've absolutely adored that never achieved anything. And I'm probably even more favourite, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, we were very lucky. We were able to put on some absolutely incredible acts that have gone on to be massive. Frank Turner is the really good example because last year we promoted a show of Frank Turner's at the Forum in Bath. That's the biggest show we've ever done. It's like 2,000 capacity, whereas normally we're averaging around about the 400 mark. So,
no, the Forum again is another great venue.
Another great venue. So so we're lucky that people like Frank we've stayed in touch with, stay friends with. We're loosely in touch with Justin from the Vaccines. We're not in touch with Foles at all anymore, as much as I'd like to be.
So are you trying to say that they used you as a stepping stone to bigger things?
No, not at all, not at all. we just gave them a gig at the time. I mean, they were Foles back then were really angular and mathy and complicated and complex, whereas now they're very sort of accessible and they're fun. They're still fun, but like that early sound was just totally different. So
yeah, more commercial now, maybe.
Yes, more commercial now.
We'll go down that route. We're going to have another little break for music. When we come back, it's the quick fire round. So you don't get to know what these questions are. But apart from, of course, the first one, what will his favourite ice cream be? So we'll be right back after this.
Across Bath, Westbury and Warminster, this is Radio Bath.
Okay, so we're back. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today with Kieran Moore. And we're on to our quick fire round. Kieran, how are you feeling about this round?
I'm excited.
You are excited. You look excited. So the first question everybody knows, and that is, what is your favourite ice cream?
That's a nice, simple one. It's mint choc chip. Every time, you know, go to the beach, it has a mint choc chip ice cream every time. So nice and simple.
I think I've had that answer once, and that's a nice answer. The strangest answer I had was a florist called Grace, who I love to bits. She's been on twice, and her answer to that was crisps.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to ask, what's her favourite flavour? Crisps, of course. So there we go. But are you tidy or messy?
I am. I'm a neat freak. I love. So if you come to my house, you would see my house as a mess. But I am a personal neat freak, and that comes from the work, really, needing to know where everything is and it all works. So I'm a neat freak. Having kids is a nightmare. It's so difficult, but yeah, I'm a neat freak.
You know, one of my DJs, who's also a lighting technician, a chap called Alex Heath, you may have come across him or not, I don't know, but whenever he leaves our box of cables at the end, it is like a work of art. It really is. I know when he's been DJing. When I come back to it, if I've been DJing, it's all just chucked in there.
I believe that. I absolutely believe that. Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Love or hate roller coasters?
I've not been on very many.
Okay.
I would say that I love them. I like that the sort of the loss of control where you kind of get out of your seat slightly and it's all like, ooh! Yeah, I love it. So my daughter hates them. So, you know that boat? You can get a boat at Legoland that kind of does that.
Yep.
Well, we went on that and I loved it and she hated it. So I'm a lover.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
The thrill.
Here we go. The questions get slightly weirder now.
Okay.
Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back?
Over the top, because behind the back is wrong.
See, as soon as I started the question, I saw your brain just go.
If you give your toilet roll a mullet, you're a wrong 'un.
That is the correct answer, by the way. I had Simon on recently, who's one of the co-founders of Radio Bath. He said there's actually a patent about which way round the toilet roll should be hung. So there we go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and round the front is the correct way. Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
From the cupboard.
Okay.
From the cupboard. Pre just normal ambient temperature. If it's too cold, it's really crunchy and hard, and no.
You're a cupboard person. That's fine.
Cupboard chocolate, yeah.
I don't know the answer to this one for you, actually. Do you make your bed in the morning?
No. I'm a neat freak, but I don't do that. Time for that.
So no making your bed.
And then that's it.
Just get out. And the follow-up question is, do you have any cushions on your bed?
No, but when I was a teenage boy, I had loads of throw cushions on my bed. And my mum was convinced I was gay.
Okay.
I'm not gay, and I just liked cushions. But as an adult, I don't have any. So
no cushions is the correct answer in my world. But we have 6 on our bed. That's all I'm saying. What is your favorite breakfast?
Cereal, or crunchy, ice cold milk, crunchy cereal. You know, cornflakes.
Cornflakes. Okay.
Any of those sorts of classics, really. Cornflakes. That's go for yeah. I mean, it's a really boring answer, but like,
it's not.
Ice cold milk. Really fresh. My kids do this thing where they leave the cereal boxes open, and so the cereal goes stale and it's not crunchy, and that drives me wild. How can you eat stale thing? And they also do this thing where like they pour it and they reach in with their hands and they pour it out with their hands. Like, gravity's enough, guys. You don't need to put your dirty hands in the cereal. You've touched a raw nerve there.
And this is why we do the quick fire round.
Yeah, anyway.
When you came on today, did you think you'd be talking about gravity and cereal?
No, I didn't.
Now, as a promoter, this might be quite a difficult one for you, this, okay? Yeah. If you had to do it, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, this is easy. I've got this already laid out.
Okay.
It's Dexy's Midnight Runners. It's Come On Eileen. It's like my favourite song ever.
Okay, and the follow-up question to that is always, are you going to give us a little burst now?
God, no, I can't sing. I'm awful. Poor old Johnny Ray, that it's out upon the radio, moved a million hearts in mono, made our mothers cry. Suddenly, who blame them? Da, 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 da.
And you're absolutely right. You do have a terrible voice. Right.
Thank you.
That's right. And that's why he's a promoter.
Yes.
No, well done. Thank you for doing that. Favorite TV program or film?
Okay, so I don't have time to watch TV or thing, but my wife is obsessed with Stranger Things, which I very much enjoyed. I recently watched Last Kingdom, which is like 6 or 7 series about, you know, the old Vikings versus the Brits. That was very, very good. I really enjoyed that. I do quite like Rick and Morty, quite like that. That's quite ridiculous, stupid fun. But I don't have time for TV. Although I will say I'm really, really excited about the second installment of Dune, which is released next year. Okay. So my favorite science fiction book come as a film. The first one was amazing. The second one is just, I can't wait. I'm just so excited.
I still haven't seen Dune, actually. I must try and watch it. So I
heard absolutely.
Varying reports about it.
It's on Netflix. So if you've got Netflix, it's free. It's great. So I loved it. It's not too action-based. There's not pointlessly loads of explosions. It's quite long. It's like 2.5 hours. But having said that, it's not laborious. So Denis Villeneuve, who's the director, he also did Blade Runner. And that second Blade Runner reboot was just so boring and slow and nothing happened. It was beautiful and it sounded amazing. It looked amazing, but the film itself was awful. He directed Dune. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. But for me, because I already know the story, I absolutely fell in love with it. And I thought the film was excellent. So
lovely. And if you had to kind of, as we're going down science fiction geeky time, this isn't one of the quick fire questions. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, so I would say Star Trek.
Okay.
I do like Star Wars, but I think Star Trek was just a little bit more original.
definitely more in depth.
Yeah, there's lots more going on with that.
Yeah. I love the way some people describe Star Wars in the actual plot lines. It got built, it got blown up.
Yeah, right. There you go.
That's
pretty much it, isn't it?
And in the second one, it got built, it got blown up. And in the third one, there were Ewoks.
Yeah, right, that's it.
If you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would it be and why?
So, I mean, it's got to be a cat, hasn't it?
I knew you were going to say a cat. I almost said, except for a cat. Everybody says cat.
And I know there's a reason for this. There's an actual reason for that. They have the absolute best lives. They sleep for 90% of the day. They come for cuddles, and everybody loves them. They're constantly fed. I mean, what's not? But if I had an actual, that's just like the bog standard answer. My actual answer would be any form of animal that can fly, because I think that would be wicked. Could you just imagine like flying over? Like you know, like you see those helicopters, they fly through valleys. Yeah. Imagine if you're a bird and you could just do that. It's so cool. And you could see anywhere in the world. You could like go look at old ruins, and you could see areas that people couldn't see. It'd be amazing.
So let's go for this then. You're going to be a cat that can fly. How's that sound?
A cat that can fly. Yeah, absolutely that. Some sort of griffin. I'll be a griffin. There you go.
And your last question, Kieran J Moore, is where is your happy place?
Oh, that's a really good, really sweet question. My happy place is probably with my wife on a windy hill cliff side. We do a lot of walking, and if I was sat on top of a cliff looking at some sort of moody scene, you know, maybe in the fog overlooking a sea, that would be pretty cool. That would be nice.
That sounds absolutely amazing. I could see you actually go there in your eyes as well.
Yes,
which is lovely.
Okay. Well, I'm drawing it from experience, so.
And well done for including your wife in that as well.
Oh yeah.
Brownie points are us, so well done. Kieran, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolute pleasure.
And I hope you've enjoyed it. You've been an absolute delight to chat to.
It's so good, always good to chat. I love it. It's been fun.
And remind people, if they wanted to come and see any gigs, where kind of can they come and see?
So the best place is to go to thepumptrowbridge.co.uk. We have gigs every weekend. So we've got 2 this weekend. We've got on Friday this week, we've got a band from Bristol called a psych rock band called My Octopus Mind. Very, very cool. And on Saturday, we've got the future of British folk, a woman called Amelia Coburn. So that's the kind of caliber and standard of things we're doing. So just check out what we're doing. We've got stuff happening every weekend. We've got Gary Stringer from Reef later in the year. We've got Gaz Brookfield, that's sold out. You know, there's always something going on. So
absolutely brilliant. Kieran, thank you so much for coming on A Story to Tell. We'll have you back on Radio Bath at some point, and we'll see you again very soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.